This is Tired Metalhead Weatherman. Hopefully, you guys have had a good Thursday. A little bit to talk about as far as weather for the weekend. A little bit more to talk about in the long range. Now, I'm going to briefly talk about the severe weather outbreak we've had over the last few days. Of course, before I get into the video, if you guys want to appreciate it if you guys would drop a like, comment, share, get this channel out, help me get this channel out there and spread the word so that we can cover future outbreaks. Try to help get this information out to the people that need it. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So, as we can see here, today we weren't really expecting too much, but apparently it has been a very active day today as well, especially in the Northeast and the Carolinas. We've had tornado reports, large multitude of wind reports, and we still have some ongoing severe weather, particularly around the mid-Atlantic region. The weather for the severe weather threat for the Carolinas is just about over with. It's just starting to, it's probably just ending, just now starting to end, like it's moving off the coast. And we still have an ongoing severe threat, which includes areas like Washington, D.C. Uh-oh. I did not mean to click that. Ah, jeez. Oh, no. Oh, no. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that, you guys. But clearly we still have D.C., Philadelphia, New York. You guys are still in play for some severe weather within the next couple of hours. And then I've looked through the storm reports. This severe weather outbreak has actually spawned about 48, has given us 48 preliminary tornado reports over the last 3 days, and more wind reports than I'm able to count. We're definitely sitting at about probably 400 or close to 400 from what I saw. Hail wasn't really a big factor in this particular outbreak. The setup just wasn't really there, but to say the least, it's been a very active 3 days, and I'm glad we're getting towards the end of it here. As far as I know, no, the actual reason why I'm looking for this is to find out if there were any fatalities. From what I've heard so far from this severe weather outbreak, there hasn't been any, which is great news because there were a few tornadoes last night in particular that were pretty strong from what I saw. But thankfully, based off what I'm seeing, I saw a report of one injured, but thankfully no fatalities. That's always a good thing to hear. If we're gonna choose between property damage and lives, we're gonna obviously choose the property damage, but we wouldn't really want neither of those things. But that being said, let's take a look in the days ahead, see if there's any sort of severe weather that the National Weather Service and Storm Prediction Center is talking about. So let's move forward here. So we do have marginal risk on Friday and Saturday. We'll take a quick look at those. I don't expect there to be too much coming out of these at all. So on day 2, we have a very, very small marginal risk area. And it looks like it's in an area where there's a whole lot of nothing. It's going to be a lot of flat plains. There might be a few houses scattered about, but it's not going to be in a large town. Even then, to you guys that might be in this marginal risk that would happen to watch my video, stay weather aware, of course. A locally severe storm is possible. Tornado threat's incredibly low, less than 2% in all areas. And then the wind threat definitely seems to be a big deal. And then the hail threat is non-existent here. We do have a secondary marginal risk area, which is going to be Florida. And same thing, tornado threat not really there. Wind threat 5%, and you have a little bit of a chance for hail, for severe hail. Now we move to day 3. Same story. It's going to be Florida, right around central Florida, Orlando, Tampa, Melbourne. Yeah, Miami, you're just outside of this. But expect some unsettled weather on Saturday as well. tornado threat still low, and you have a wind. It just kicked me back to that. I must be bumping a button on my mouse, but yeah, it's just a 5% area. This is day 3, so we aren't going to get a necessary hazard outlook. That's always day 2. It's just a little too far out to kind of give that kind of forecast right now. Sorry if I'm fumbling my words, but we're going to go into the GFS here. We're going to pretty much peer through all of this and see if there's anything significant we need to look at. I do have one particular date marked, but we'll go into detail about that in a moment. So we're going to get an idea of what the radar could look like in the coming days. You do get a little clipper system on Friday afternoon that sneaks its way into the mid-Atlantic, dropping some snow flurries, maybe some light snow, some more moderate snow towards Maine. Nothing new. And towards the late night hours, we have a little low pressure system that sneaks its way into the south central plains. Sparks off a little bit of severe weather, but just doesn't really have the steam to build up to anything significant. Brings some snow, and this system also brings some snow towards north central plains, northern plains. Mainly Wisconsin, you might get a good burst of heavy snow. This goes through the Great Lakes. Tries to form into a big storm, but nothing really comes out of it. Meanwhile, we look towards Florida. You get some isolated severe storms, some stronger thunderstorms. Temperatures are definitely warm enough for that. So then we're looking at what might be our next potential player coming in, taking shape. On Monday, we have a pretty strong area of low pressure, but I also see this low here, which could become an interesting setup for a potential snowstorm in the northern states around the Great Lakes and maybe even the Northeast. It's a little hard to tell right now, but it all depends on if these two lows do what's called phasing. Doesn't really look like these two interlock. They're in the same kind of flow, but I don't think they're able to sync up and really morph into a big bona fide storm system. Now this is the date that I was talking about. Late in the Monday night, here's our low pressure here on the southern stream. So we're watching this form, and it produces some more unsettled weather, and it looks like another nocturnal event. This time the flow looks a little bit different, and we can see a little bit of a supercellular type look for these storms around here. This is pretty far out, so I can only take this with a grain of salt, but if we take a look at the sounding, it'll be interesting to see just what they have in mind. Yeah, so they have a marginal tornado risk. That sounds about right considering the look of that. And one thing that I've been learning, because I've been researching these soundings here, whenever you see curvatures like this, that usually is a signal for potential tornado development. And this is what's called a hodograph. You ever see a curve on this hodograph, it's a clear sign that the atmosphere is favorable for tornadoes. I just keep on fumbling over my words, don't I? But we keep moving forward here. Really would hope this doesn't happen because this becomes a big nocturnal threat. So we go into Tuesday, and this causes a lot of unsettled weather around the southeast. Could see a line of thunderstorms even hitting my area, and so far it doesn't really show much of a severe threat, which is good. But this is, like I said, this is pretty far out. A lot can change. This looks like it tries to develop into a line of storms, and it's hard to say. The sounding, it's so far out. Sounding's not really getting a great read on it, but I'm definitely concerned about Monday in particular, because if we're already about 4 days out and we're picking up on a marginal tornado threat, that is something worth paying attention to, and I will be paying attention to that over the next few days. So this weather moves out. early Wednesday out of the southeast and pushes its way north. This low pressure pushes north. And on the backside of it, we look like we're going to get some heavy snow according to the GFS for Minneapolis, maybe even Green Bay. It might start out as rain before, but you're definitely going to end out as heavy snow from the looks of it. And then eastern half of the Dakotas might get a little bit of snow. Omaha, you might be in play for a little bit of snow. Des Moines, you may get some in the back. You may catch a little bit of the snow in the back half. May even push as far south. It may even push as far south as St. Louis from the looks of it. You're going to start out as rain and then into snow. Then we may see another little severe threat for the mid-Atlantic region. Definitely looks like some unsettled weather at the very least. This tries to blossom into something. This could be another small-scale severe event for Pennsylvania, New York, maybe Washington, D.C., but at this point we're already a week out, and you know how and I've even said it before, we know how forecast models tend to be at this range. So this is definitely something that we'll be monitoring over here on this end in the days to come. So, oh, that's an interesting look. I haven't looked this far out into the model yet, but I do see a big cool down coming late next week. And that 540 line here is the freezing line, and you can see little bits of precipitation here, maybe some rain and snow. That's kind of crazy if that's the case. I think that we could even see snow flurries as far south as the foothills of the Appalachians, maybe even North Georgia. Wouldn't that be something? This doesn't last because quickly we have a ridge developing, and we're starting to get a little bit further out on the range, further out on the model. We're over a week out, and we can see what looks to be another storm system trying to form on the 12th here. Storm system has a very interesting look to it, a lot like the storm system that came through about almost 2 weeks ago now. Has snow on the backside for the four corners, and then it looks like on the western side of it in the warm sector we're going to have more severe weather on the 12th into the 13th, on into the 12th, and then the snow system scoots up north, more snow for the Great Lakes, Minneapolis, the Dakotas maybe even, and looks like another system tries to form up. Pattern looks extremely active, and then we have what looks to be potentially another QLCS quasi-linear convective system on the 15th. Keep in mind, like I've said thousands of times, this is so far out. And then we also would like to make note of how far north this ridge builds. So this is a big warm sector, and this may even push all the way into Canada, which is crazy. Like I said, we're almost 3 weeks out really at this point, so I can only take some of this for face value and understand that this probably will change a lot in the coming weeks. Excuse me again. So that's all I got for that. I'm going to try to hone in a little bit more on the Tuesday situation a bit. Just kind of get an idea of what we could be dealing with as far as a potential tornado threat. So I'm going to look at the low-level jet, and then we're going to take a look at the mid-level jet temperatures, and then even the temperature and even the dew points. Excuse me. Wow. I've been having some long days at work, so I guess I'm a little bit drowsy. I apologize for being so sluggish. But okay, so around this area that I was thinking that they were highlighting some severe weather. Yep, and surely enough it was. We do have some decent lapse rates, especially towards the mid levels of the atmosphere. Dew points look like they're sufficient. Temperatures are in the mid 60s. Definitely more than sufficient enough to cause a few supercells and some tornadoes, even though it'll be the overnight. I can honestly say that I'm glad that these won't be forming up in the middle of the day, because that could become a huge, huge problem. Low level jet isn't spectacular, but keep in mind this is still pretty far out, so this could strengthen, it could downtrend. Hard to say what will happen next, but we'll watch this move forward. And this is an interesting development. Definitely not surprising. This low level jet strengthens, and we are going to probably be expecting more storms. And then, of course, when we go to Alabama, to any of my Alabamians that might be watching this, you know what time of year it is, unfortunately. So, yeah, just stay weather aware. It's another one of these. It's a marginal tornado risk. You can see the curve on the hortograph. You can see we have the dew points and temperatures needed. My big hope is that these temperatures do not increase throughout that this does not happen during the peak daytime heating hours. We have a low level jet of about 55, maybe even an area of 60 knots developing over this area. A little bit too far out. So as this thing kind of forms into a line, we may get a few line segments of storms, maybe a squall line that develops. And then maybe on the south side Wednesday we might get some severe weather. Hard to say that this far out, but definitely looks like there's more severe weather in play for the southeast early into mid next week. And then we watch this move off. Leaves a little bit of wind behind for us, of course, just like any other springtime storm. And that's all we got for right now. This is our next storm on the 10th. Probably not going to get too much of a reading on this. However, this little hodiograph curve is alarming, even though a lot of this isn't matching up. I'm not going to read too far into this, because it's just going to be hard to really pinpoint what will happen here. But you can clearly see there's a lot of swirl in the atmosphere. You can clearly see that there's a lot of activity. So we're just getting into severe season, folks. Definitely stay on guard here. So we're going to look at the mid-level jet one quick time. And we're going to see, well, maybe there isn't a need to go into the mid-levels. We kind of already know that there's going to be a tornado threat. We just don't know how intense it will be. Plus, this thing also likes to take a long time to load. I don't want to take you guys' time up. And I already know this is getting to be almost a 20-minute video. I'm going to look at the temperatures one quick time. If this all load. If this will all load, I should say. But I'm not too sure. Here we go. Starting to load now. Or is it? Might have spoken too soon here. Okay, here we go. Well, this is loading now. So, mid-level jet, not very impressive at this point. So, we move forward on this. It's pretty much the same thing. I don't really have any clear definition as to... Doesn't look like there's a massive amount of wind shear in regards to the severe weather threat, but this is so far out. So much can change. I know I keep repeating myself, so I'm just going to get off of this here. Try to move a little bit further forward. And kicked me out and went into the singular. I'm going to try to do things this way. Oh, jeez. I'm a little bit too far back. Sorry, guys. Okay. Nope, not quite. I almost feel like I should have tried to go for the radar loop because I feel like it would have loaded faster at this point. Still learning. It's the fun part about watching a new YouTube channel. You get to see the glorious moments, and then you'll get to see the fumbles like this. So, that being said, this thing would like to load. Pretty please. Do have sufficient temperatures on the southern part of Texas where these storms are expected to form up. So, okay. Move a little bit further forward. The daytime heating hours will be over at this point, though. So again, I do think this will kind of limit our severe weather coverage area, but there's still some areas where we have more than sufficient enough parameters from the looks of things to get a few supercells going, get a couple of tornadoes out of this. But I'm not going to keep on rambling. I know you guys want to get on with your life. If you've watched to the end, special thanks to you all. But that's all I have for you guys tonight. It's been Ty, your Metalhead Weatherman. You guys have a good Thursday night, and I will maybe talk at you again more tomorrow if we have any significant developments. Also, I will not be making a video Saturday. I'll be out of town. I'll be in South Carolina for a family outing. But again, it's been Ty, your Metalhead Weatherman. Hopefully you guys have a good Thursday night, and I'll talk at you some more tomorrow about the weekend forecast.